going to take a second first to rearrange the chairs real quick. Before you get started, Rob, we have to do a quick rearrange the chairs first.
So sorry about this.
We're gonna play music or changes. Is that what we're gonna do?
Just real quick.
Okay, real quick.
So, if those of you who are in the back row, if you wouldn't mind moving up a little bit.
Makes a better picture. All right, sorry.
Don't be shy.
No, we're just doing some important
showered this
filming.
morning, so
We're doing some important
please.
filming at the same time.
You know, exercise is always good for health care. So get up and move.
Right here.
Oh, okay.
And I think I got a good one of these. We're actually going to do one of these.
I haven't seen Dennis.
Thank you.
I know, yeah.
Oh, is there supposed to be an aisle here?
Did you two ladies come together? Can you scoot over?
Yeah, yes, there is.
And they organize. Ma'am, if I move, do you mind sitting right there?
Here.
Taking your nice front row seat.
Oh, no, no. It's not a problem. Is someone here?
Jerry, sit right there. Sit right there. No, I can sit. So
See, now we look like the mighty few. Well, thank you so much for coming, everybody. As you know, this is an issue that's probably one of the top 3 issues. You know, when I travel the state, healthcare is probably, it's one that people bring up, most of the time. And first of all, I want to say that we really got some great news in our campaign today. We crested with our contributions $750,000. And these 2/3 of these contributions are from the people of Montana at an average of $40 per contribution. So I'm really gratified that we have the support of everyday Montanans. This could not be more huge. But this is the reason. This is Town Hall Week, and we are meeting with people from all over the state, throughout the course of this whole thing to talk about this issue of health care, because I know everybody has stories, and I'm going to be asking some of you to share some of your stories about healthcare issues that you have too.
Speaking in front of the podium?
Not at all.
You're so tall.
I am tall. That's because my dad fed us pancakes every day for breakfast. Marvin's been out there to eat my dad's pancakes.
Very good.
That's part of our healthcare plan in Montana. And I think it worked. But, as I was saying, we all have our personal healthcare stories. First of all, mine is probably no different than a lot of people. For me, it happened probably mid-90s, and I was on tour. I had a 5-year plan going, with my band. And so this is the 4th year of our 5-year plan. And I had just everything in place. I had the best band that you could find in the Big Sky Country. I had, a really good sound company. We had the bus. We had a record contract offer from Warner Western. And then I went in for a simple gallbladder surgery, but it went very badly. And so the wrong things were cut. I won't go into gory details unless you want me to. But the long and short of it is that it really was like someone turned off the switch on our jet engine. And so I went into kind of a 5-year tailspin, just where I was had to have several reconstructive surgeries over the course of next several years, and and of course at that point I couldn't really afford health insurance, so we dropped that, which was probably maybe not a wise idea, but something we felt like we had to do just to cover our other bills. And then when I had to have back surgery years later, we had to cover it with out-of-pocket expenses. So this was really a big impact on me and my family. And it's, to me, affordable health care should be a right of citizenship here in the greatest country on earth. People should not have to go bankrupt trying to provide health care for their families. And, I know that there are many special interest groups in DC that are pushing this new health care bill in. We've seen this new health care bill. And, to me, it would kick off. There are 73,000 Montanans that are covered by the HELP Act, and I think it would kick off. It would have kicked off 24 million Americans, throughout the country. And I think the concerns that we have here in Montana is that, that rural health care would just plummet. Montana is a rural state. I mean, look, here we are, we have just over 1 million people, but we have the fourth largest state in the union. And so healthcare in our rural communities is really a concern. I think it would really cut that as well. But, I have to say, throughout this whole thing, I've been challenging my opponent to come out into the light of day and face the people of Montana and hear their healthcare stories. But as we know, he seems to be missing in action. He has actually, spent all of his time in DC meeting with the same special interest groups that want to push these healthcare bills in. And it just came out I think yesterday, that he actually owns $2.5 million of stock in all these pharmaceutical companies that are charging the high prices that people have to pay. So I think he needs to come out and answer to the people of Montana about that. That's one thing that we could really help bring down our healthcare costs if we were to have our pharmaceutical drugs at a fair price. And so I have a personal story on that one as well. My wife Bonnie is allergic to bee stings. And about 3 years ago, she got stung. And she said, Rob, you better run to the drugstore and get me an EpiPen. And I could tell it was getting bad. I said, no, you better come with me. So and as we were going in, we realized that she was starting to tank. So we got her to the clinic and we barely pulled her through. She said that she was even starting to see faces of people on the other side. That's how close we were to losing her. And I was standing by her side, begging her not to go. So it was a tough moment for me. But nowadays, to have an EpiPen that she needs, that's $500. And she has relatives in Canada that can get the same EpiPen for $20. Now, does this sound like a system that puts people before profits? I don't think so. I don't think so. And so, like I said, Mr. Gianforte has all this stock in companies that profit on these high costs of pharmaceutical drugs. And another thing that I think we need to realize about the healthcare act that they were trying to put through, they call it the AHCA, is that it would raise premiums on people from over $300 a month. Premiums would rise. And it's not a level playing field either, because people in their 50s and 60s would have to pay 5 times as much as young people. So this is not an equitable system. And another thing I really have had trouble with this system is that it would also give not only tax breaks to the rich, but also special tax breaks to insurance company executives. So, this election cannot be more important. This is literally a fight for the soul of Montana. It truly is. And so I think that you need to contact all of your friends. And if everybody can contact at least 10 people and spread the word about this, this is really, and make them realize the importance of this election. So anyway, I know that some of you have stories that you'd like to tell about, I want to tell one story too about, this is maybe not healthcare related, but it's kind of related. I was just speaking with a young woman in Fort Bend this morning, and she was talking about how they want to cut the school lunch program. She subsists on $600 a month, and she said if they cut that that lunch program, that in the 3rd week she's going to have her kids, go over to her grandmother's place, for lunch, because she just simply cannot afford it. So I mean, it's just story after story after story about how people are going to be struggling under this new system. Anyway, I just want to throw this out. Does anybody have any stories that they would like to share about today with this? Anybody? Okay, thank you very much.
Here, I'll have a microphone for you to hand to people.
Okay.
Yeah, I can share a good story having to do with the drug costs, because I have a cousin whose daughter has MS. They were partying on Friday because the entire family was absolutely terrified that she was going to lose her health care. She's 30 years old, and so she can't be covered under her parents' insurance. She had Obamacare, as they call it, and her medications that she has to take are $8,000 a month, which is almost as much as she makes in a year.
Yeah.
So the way that they were doing this, if she had lost that care, she probably would not be able to walk within a year.
Yes, I have a cousin who has been dealing with MS as well, and I heard this is probably one of the most stark contrasts that I put about how really to repeal the Affordable Health Care Act, you would have to be willing to let 10 people that you know pass away, in order to, I mean, that's how graphic this whole thing is. So yeah, thank you for sharing that. Anybody else like Jerry?
Rob, you have a story to tell, and that is how many benefits, sorry. How many benefits have you done for friends or people you might not even know for their healthcare costs to help them get through the whole system of expensive care?
Well, I don't know if I'd be able to count the number of benefits that I've done over the years. And I know that many of you have also contributed to GoFundMe sites. I mean, seriously, in the greatest country on earth, should our health care be, predicated on having GoFundMe sites? Just in the last few, of course, I think, we had one, my right-hand man for all these years, Mr. David Griffith. Whenever you see me play, there's that gentleman that plays with me that plays every instrument under the sun. And, of course, we had a great benefit for him. I think the one thing about benefits that is a really good side effect is that when everybody comes together, it's that outpouring of love for people. It's not, the money, of course, is the important thing, but all the support that they get from their family and community, that really makes a big difference. So, and then just recently, there's been another friend of mine that had a back issue. He fell off a ladder, and it just goes on and on. I probably couldn't tell you the number of benefits that we've done over the years, for people who have whose health care has let them down. It's interesting that you talk about this because, when you talk about it to everyday Montanans, everybody pretty much agrees on the precepts of what we need for good health care. But the minute for all the points, but the minute you call it Obamacare, that's when the brakes go on. So it's the demonizing of words, I think, that we have to stay away from. To watch out for. It's incredible how these words become demonized. Okay, who else has a story for us?
Well, my husband is recovering from leukemia and had to have a stem cell transplant, and you can't do that in Montana, so we had to go to Seattle for 6 months. And right from the beginning, we were told that the average family, 2 years after a stem cell transplant, they have to declare bankruptcy. So I thought, well, but somehow we dismissed that. And we were just so happy that he was able to have that transplant, and he survived that. Well, the transplant was in 13, and here we are at 17. He's doing great. But more people are living now after transplants, and so they just didn't realize all of the medical costs that go on. He was going to be here today, but he was having muscle spasms, so he couldn't, because there's this whole thing called graft versus host disease that affects all of your organs. But anyway, it's just, I think that we all know of people that have struggled, that those fears of losing their home or their ranch or their farm because of medical costs. It's overwhelming, and it's just something that's always knocking at the door for people that have chronic illness that goes on and on.
Yeah.
So we have to have some type of medical coverage where people don't have to lose everything that they've worked for their whole lives.
Well, I probably should have declared bankruptcy a couple times, but of course that's just not the Montana way, I think that's something that was ingrained in me from my parents, that you just fight through things, and maybe if I wouldn't have all this this negative kind of backlash that's been coming to me. But, you know, I think that, personally, I think that Montanans are going to be rejecting Mr. Gianforte and the dinosaur he rode in on.
Let's put it this way. Let's put it this way. You paid your bills?
Yes.
You paid your bills?
I did.
You didn't launder your money?
No?
No? You didn't bribe somebody?
No?
You paid your bills? That's what I call an honest Montanan. I want to say you're absolutely right about the lunches, breakfast, even after school, snacks, because I taught both high schools here, 2 or 3 middle schools, several elementaries, and when I taught at the downtown school at 92% poverty level, I had a $600 a month guy come in, trying to take care of his daughter on $600. And some of those kids would run right to the breakfast at 7:30 in the morning when it was like 20 below. And they'd be there at 7:30, the building didn't open till 8. And I was always ready to be there, so, and so it's a problem here in Montana. It's a big time problem. And I have another issue with healthcare on Indian reservations, and it's not just here, it's in South Dakota. You may know.
That's right. Well, you know, that's the thing too. I mean, I was also the spokesman for the Montana Food Bank Network, and it was appalling to me how many people face hunger issues here in the state. I mean, even at that time, which was, you know, a number of years ago, 300,000 people, they used it 300,000 times over the course of 1 year, you know, so that really is a big problem. And as you said, you know, reservations, this is a big problem here too. I think, you know, just to elaborate on that, one of the things that we're trying to do in this program, one of the people who are working closely with is Mariah Basso, who's in the governor's office, the tribal liaison, and she has got a program called Indigenous Foods.